So Trump signed an executive order.
Donald Trump has set the world on fire. Stock markets falling sharp.
Have you heard of the third term pact? Okay, hold on. It's been a minute since I've been live on here. So today we're going to talk about what's happening in Gary, Indiana. Okay, so before I get started, I'm going to go ahead and play this little video. If you haven't joined or subscribed to the channel, please do so and go ahead and hit that thumbs up. And over here on TikTok, go ahead and hit the like, I guess. I don't know how it works so much over here on TikTok. This is my first time streaming on TikTok, okay? All right, let me play this video.
I believe no one is over here helping Gary.
Thousands of people in Gary, Indiana have been without power since August 11th.
The National Weather Service informed us that Gary faced the strongest winds, which reached 99 miles per hour, equivalent to a Category 2 hurricane.
All the power is out, as far as I know, all across Gary, Indiana.
They're losing food. Homes are getting warmer.
They do not have money, and some of the cards aren't even working. I ran into some ladies that had children, and my heart broke.
My name's Aja, and I'm going on day 7 of having no power in one of Indiana's worst blackouts and one of the highest crime cities in Indiana.
NIPSCO, the company that services 100% of customers in Gary, are now saying that it may be until next Tuesday until many people get power back.
We're on day 9 of no power in Gary, Indiana.
My neighbor across the street, my teacher down two streets down, we have no air in here.
Schools are closed. Families are throwing away spoiled food. People are driving to Illinois just to find ice for insulin.
I am from Gary, Indiana. I was born there, raised there until I was about 8 years old. My family is from there and people still live there, and many people are telling me that they still don't have power. They have trees on top of their homes. One of my cousins sent me this video of a grocery store completely decimated, food spoiled. This is also where the city gave people vouchers to, $150 of vouchers, but this was the only place that they could use the vouchers.
I, for one, have not seen anybody else outside of Gary, Indiana talk about what's going on in Gary, Indiana. And I don't like it.
Gary, Indiana specifically is also almost 85% black. That's important.
I think this should be national news, and it's crazy to me that it's not being talked about.
I cannot believe no one is over here helping
Okay,
Gary.
so in Gary, Indiana, hold on. Okay, so in Gary, Indiana, they've been having, they've had blackouts so far, I think for 11 days. And I'm just now finding out about it because I haven't heard anybody talk about it. So normally I'm always talking about politics and things like that, but I do tackle social issues and things like this that's happening because a friend of mine told me this is happening right now. They've been without lights for 11 days. And when I did a little bit of research, I found out that people in Gary and Indiana will not get lights until possibly May on the 25th of August. So that's another week, another 5 days. So I appreciate everybody being here today. I haven't done a live in a long time, but I will get back to doing lives. That's one of my plans here. So if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do so. Please subscribe to the channel. Also, put on your notification bells when I do a video or uploads and when I go live. Okay. So thank you for being here. So let me go ahead and get started. We need to talk about what's happening in Gary, Indiana right now. And when I tell you this is bigger than somebody sitting at home saying my lights are out, we're talking about families who have been dealing with this crisis for more than a week. Thousands of people in Gary have been living without electricity after devastating storms tore through Northwest Indiana on August the 11th. And people are frustrated. They're tired. They're throwing away food. They're trying to keep their phones charged. They're trying to figure out where they're going to get their next hot meal. And some residents are asking a very serious question. Why is it taking this long to get Gary's power back on? On August the 11th, extremely powerful storms ripped through Northwest Indiana. We're talking about winds reported as high as 99 miles per hour. Trees came crashing down, power lines went down, utility poles were damaged, homes and communities were hit. And this became the largest outage event in NIPSCO's history. Across the entire storm event, NIPSCO says it has dealt with roughly 370,000 outages. As of Thursday morning, August 20th, NIPSCO reported that approximately 63,500 customers were still without electricity across its service territory. So this emergency is not over. Now, here's where I want everybody to pay attention. Gary has been one of the communities hit the hardest by these outages. As of Wednesday, reporting indicated that more than 20,000 customers in Gary were still without power. And think about that. We're not talking about 2 hours. We're not talking about one night. We're not talking about people who have been dealing with this. We're talking about people dealing with this since August the 11th. And NIPSCO says full restoration in Gary isn't expected until August 25th. Now, I just said that. And that means some residents could potentially spend 2 weeks without electricity. That's 2 weeks. So I don't know if anyone else has been without electricity for 2 weeks, but that is devastating. If there are any people from Gary, Indiana, any residents, anything, please respond in the comments, let us know how you're doing. And how long have you been without this power? Just put it in the chat. Has it been 1 day, 5 days, 8 days? Are you still out? I want people watching across this social media to understand what residents are actually experiencing. NIPSCO says the damage in Gary is massive. So according to the utility, roughly 300 utility poles and 44 transmission poles in Gary need to be repaired or replaced. And that's important, because this isn't necessarily a situation where somebody simply flips a switch and the lights come back on. Parts of the electrical infrastructure have to be rebuilt. NIPSCO says hundreds of workers are involved in the restoration effort. But here's where residents have every right to ask questions. Was the system prepared for a disaster of this magnitude? Was the infrastructure strong enough before the storm happened? And has the response been fast enough for people of Gary? And those are fair questions. Because when your electricity disappears for this long, the problems are multiplying. Think about what's inside your refrigerator right now. You have milk. Some people have meat. You have vegetables, medication, frozen food. Now imagine losing all of that. And then imagine that you don't necessarily have hundreds of dollars available to replace everything. That's what makes an extended blackout different from temporary inconvenience. Families have been scrambling for food, water, and other necessities, and food banks have reported increased demand. People have been lining up at community centers for hot meals and places to charge their phones. That's not just a power outage anymore. That's a community emergency. And here's another part of the story that deserves more attention. What happens to somebody who depends on refrigerated medication? What happens to an elderly person living alone? What happens to somebody using medical equipment that requires electricity? What happens when temperatures rise and there's no conditioning, no air conditioning? What happens when someone's phone dies and they can't easily call for help? Those are the people I'm thinking about today, because the longer an outage continues, the more serious those risks become. And there's another conversation happening in Gary. Some residents feel like their community has been forgotten. Gary is predominantly a Black city. And when residents watch surrounding communities regain electricity while thousands of people in Gary remain in the dark, some are questioning whether their community is receiving the same urgency. Now, NIPSCO disputes the idea that Gary is being deliberately neglected. The company says restoration decisions are based on the severity and complexity of the storm damage, not the racial or economic makeup of communities. But residents also have every right to demand transparency. If you're telling somebody you're going to be without electricity for nearly 2 weeks, they deserve a clear explanation of why. And we also can't forget the human cost of these storms. At least 7 deaths have been reported in connection with the storms and their aftermath. So when we're talking about the situation, we're not simply talking about inconvenience. People have died. Homes have been damaged. Infrastructure has been destroyed. Families have been displaced. And tens of thousands of people across Northwest Indiana have been trying to get their lives back to normal. But here's what I want to talk about today. America is one of the wealthiest countries in the world. Electricity isn't a luxury anymore. Our food depends on it. Our communications depend on it. Our medical systems depend on it. Our jobs depend on it. Our security depends on it. So when a major American city can potentially have residents without electricity for nearly 2 weeks, we should be asking bigger questions about the resilience of our electrical infrastructure, because this storm happened in Gary, but the next storm could happen anywhere. So if you're watching from Gary tonight or today, I especially want to hear from you guys. Do you have electricity right now? And how many days were you without power? Did you lose food? Did you have trouble finding gas, ice, or somewhere to charge your phone? And most importantly, do you believe the response has been good enough? Because sometimes the people living through a story can tell us things that a press conference simply cannot. Okay? So from my understanding, on some of the videos that I have seen so far, is that there is no lights right now in Gary, Indiana. And especially in the neighborhoods where predominantly Black neighborhoods. And so I'm kind of just didn't even understand that this was happening. Excuse me. And even my husband was like, what? We haven't heard anything about it. I haven't even heard. And I'm on TikTok all the time and I haven't seen anything until today, until a friend called me and said, Miss Sunny, Gary hasn't had electricity for 11 days. Now, this reminds me of New Orleans, when that incident happened and people were literally on the roofs of their homes and they had to go because of the flood, and they had ended up in a stadium in really horrific conditions. I don't understand for the life of me as to why this is happening again. People should be aware. And if you have money, if I read up that Donald Trump sent the money, for Gary, sent assistance, FEMA, to help out Gary in this situation. I'm not sure what's going on. I did a little bit of research to find out, and I don't understand why people have to be without lights, electricity. People are sitting in their cars in the dark, pitch black darkness. Some crimes have been committed. People are in fear. There are food banks, but the food banks need help too. So if you are near Gary, Indiana, you know, send some food, help these people out, because they have a whole nother 5 days. Today is the August 20th. They're supposed to get their lights back on the 25th. So it's been said. Let's see. I don't know how to work this TikTok stuff. So if anybody want to come up, let me know. If you was Barack Obama the first Muslim senator, what the hell? So I think it's very sad that we have to see this situation happen again. I understand the regime that we're under, but like I said, when I did some research, Donald Trump did send over some help to help out Gary, Indiana. So it's all on the government, and the governor of Indiana, the mayor of Indiana, and it's all on NIPSCO, the power grid. I don't understand it. This stuff like this happens in Texas all the time too. Let's see, what else can I say? Does anybody have any questions? Anybody want to make a statement? Anybody want to come up and say anything? Be my guest. Okay. Let me drop the link. I'm sorry. Like I said, I hadn't done this in so long. There you go. There is a link if you want to come up and talk to me. And please don't come in here talking to me about Barack Obama or anybody else. Okay. So, like I said, from my understanding, NIPSCO said they were going to have this done by the 25th. Okay. Let me talk about here. I had some information here I wanted to share with you guys. I want to say this. The median household income in Gary, Indiana sits at $38,731, which is nearly half of the broader Indiana state median of $71,000. And the population, it says here, poverty and unemployment, roughly 1/3 of the city's population currently lives below the poverty line. Okay. I don't want to say anything negative about Gary, Indiana. I don't want to say that, is this the reason why they're taking so long? Because they don't care about the people in Gary, Indiana, because of the population, and the people there are mostly Black people. Is this why they're not getting any help? Everyone else around them have lights and electricity. They don't have lights and electricity. The demographics there is 76.2% Black people in Gary, Indiana. Is this why, no one's helping them? I don't know. I'm not saying that is the reason. I'm just asking questions. The population of Gary, Indiana is estimated to be 66,934, according to the recent 2026 demographic projections. It says Gary is currently declining at a slow rate of about 0.53% annually. its population has dropped significantly from its historic peak of nearly 178,000 residents in 1960, a shift largely driven by the downsizing of the local steel industry. So are they being pushed out? Or, because they can't find jobs? I didn't even realize Gary, Indiana was this, had economic issues like this. I didn't know that. The only thing I knew about Gary, Indiana was the Jackson Five, the Jackson family. So their main their main work is steel, the steel industry, U.S. Steel. Hello, Mel NYC. How are you doing?
I'm okay.
So Mel is the one who brought this story to me today. So what do you say, Mel?
Well, you know what? I was looking at it a little bit too, and I'm sorry I came a little late, but
okay.
Hello, how you doing? Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Yeah, I think that I saw it last night, the story, and that was what I was thinking about last night, and I think that I was looking at it just now before I got here, and it seems that the mayor is saying that if people call 211, I think in the community, they might be entitled to, $5,000 each when it comes to their food going rotten, different issues that's going on because they having issues with keeping the food refrigerated because the refrigerators are gone. And they having issues with gas and food delivery and stuff like that. And like you told me in the report I saw, they will probably still have no air conditioning and stuff like that until next week. So it's going to be 2 weeks with them being kind of caught up in there with all the heat and all that problems they have there. So yeah, I just think that it's unfortunate that it's happening because this was happening. I don't know, in Beverly Hills or somewhere else. The power lines wouldn't just be, the people in that community wouldn't be suffering for 2 weeks. People get there real quick when. I don't know when it's a different community stuff, but it's predominantly Black from what I saw. I know, of course, there's some Caucasian individuals there, obviously, but it's predominantly a Black community that is suffering right now without any electricity. And people are talking about medical conditions, diabetes, and other things that they have in their home. So it's really a hot mess.
It is a hot mess. I mean, I was looking over and then I went to TikTok when I got through talking to you earlier, and I'm looking on TikTok and I'm saying, oh wow, this is pretty bad. This is not 11 days without electricity, and they are forecasting another 5 days.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that's 2 weeks, and like you said earlier, people aren't going to have food because they're running out of food. They're running out of gas. I saw a video where a woman was there, her and her husband were on the street, and they were literally on, like, we can't move because we don't have any gas.
Mm-hmm.
She was frustrated with her husband, and there's nothing they can do now because they left home probably in search of fuel and ran out of gas because people are just on the side of the street. And it is very humane to treat people this way. I don't care who they are. And I did research and saw that it's a blue city, so they normally vote Democrat.
Yeah.
And under this regime that we're under, Donald Trump did send help from what I read. So I'm not going to, say he didn't. It says that he did. But with that FEMA help or the money, I don't know how much it was.
Mm-hmm.
With that help, they must have helped everybody else first before they helped Gary. Now, Gary was hit the worst out of everyone else. From what I read, they had the worst hit. And so, power lines are down, the grids are down. And I understand when a power line goes out, sometimes it takes 24 hours to get it back up.
Right.
24 hours. 360,000 people were hit, affected by the outage. So they said they have to help 360,000 people.
Oh, okay.
This is what they said. I'm sure people have lights now, because I also saw a video where people were handing out food and stuff. So I saw videos where people were standing in long lines that look like it's going for miles, standing in line to get, food and water, or some type of help, some type of assistance,
resources. You know what? I think that I saw that too. And we got to describe the lines. Again, first off, like you said, I heard too that Washington. I can't say the man's name. That Washington were trying to send down, but what we feel, and it's true. It's like I was telling you on the phone. I take back what I said. It's not Katrina, obviously, but what I'm saying is that it feels like historically, every time it comes to our communities, I don't care if it's in God help you, in Gary, Indiana, or wherever it is, in our communities, when we suffer, through no fault of our own, because of global warming and tech bros and all type of garbage happening in the world, making everything hot and crazy, and we losing stuff, then we are the last person to get the resources. We're the last sort of community to get the help. And on those lines you described, you see older people with walkers, wheelchairs, disabled people out there in the hot heat, hoping to get some bottles of water and some, powdered milk and other things that they need to try to get through the day or whatever. So yeah, it's definitely not fixed. I mean, it's not comfortable. I would say it's not comfortable. People are being, a young girl says she had an asthma attack because of the air conditioner being out, and she had to go to the hospital to kind of get, her needs met. So it's definitely, I'm nervous for them for the next couple of days, because they have to go through the whole weekend and deal with this, this uncomfortability, this heat, and all this problem. So yeah, I think that Washington, in my opinion, I'll say that they moving too slow. They always move too slow, but in this regime, they're moving way too slow when it comes to, helping our community, wherever we are in the country, to help us when we, have these issues that we're not causing. It's not through gang violence or any kind of crap they try to put. It is literally Mother Nature that they mess with. It's coming down and messing up, people's, lights and gas and fuel and food. And I mean, we really have enough issues with a lot of the food under this administration being spoiled rotten, with all the viruses happening. I mean, we can look up, I don't want to speak out of school, but we can look up online all the recalls. They recalling eggs and seasonings and all type of stuff. So not only did we survive and trying to survive, not to eat, spoiled food, no matter what state you're in, and now people there can't even get access to that. So It's like, come on.
Which is sad. I mean, I don't know what people expect out of this administration.
Yes.
Dr. Strange voice in the office, and with all this stuff happening, and most of that is his fault. Donald Trump is just signing off on stuff. He's not doing anything because he sleep half the time. And so you have people like Dr. Strange voice, that's RFK Jr., that, no vaccines. People don't need to have vaccines and blah, blah, blah. I don't understand it. And people are dying because of this administration. And, hurricane season is around what time? Because I can't remember.
I think it's it really
right now.
It's starting right now, but it gets real crazy about October, where all across places where we get flooded, and from now to October, it gets really crazy.
Right.
Yeah. So it's the time of year when people have to, communities have to worry about not only the tornadoes, but now the hurricanes and, all type of stuff.
I mean, we had the earthquakes. We're having, it will be tornadoes. Who knows what the weather's going to be like coming up this season? How many people are going to get sick in this season? People are being brainwashed to believe they don't need to have vaccines. So people gonna have to be careful out here in the streets.
Yeah.
Period. So like I said, I will be going live more often when it cools down and stuff, because normally during the summertime, as Mel knows, Mel's been knowing me for like 5 years, that I'm normally out and about living life, to the best of my ability.
Well, yeah, having good, clean fun with your family, nothing wrong with that,
Right.
especially in the summertime, because
During the
you all,
summertime.
yeah, y'all work hard and, you go to pool and dance and, like everybody do. So it's a wonderful time. But you're right. I think that going back to what you were saying so many times on this show about, which I love is that you always for years told our community, people didn't understand at the time, grow your own food and research, we don't want to be living in a bunker, but we definitely got to learn how to grow a potato. Like you were talking about, because listen, when you have this kind of person around, and God help us, he got back in office, you kind of think, what would I do if I live, if something happens and I have to, if the powers are out or if the food is recalled or God knows what, I need to have a little backup plan. And maybe it's never too late, but again, right now it's the responsibility of Trump and this administration. We get now the Biden and the Obama and Clinton. Nobody's in office except for you, sir. So when these issues be happening, we'll, I didn't vote for you, but now I'm going to be pressuring, and we thank God for this show right now. We're going to be focusing on your little what you're overlooking. Nobody's at fault for what is happening except for this administration. You're not controlling the weather. I'm not delusional, but you're not really good when it comes to these issues that come from the weather, that you are getting, that all this tech stuff and technology, tech bro, Bitcoin and data centers are creating all this chaos. And so you're making a lot of billions and trillions. And now, all that, but now the community, especially our community, is suffering because of it. I mean, we can even conversate maybe another time about how our communities again is under attack from data centers. They talking about how that the water's getting poisoned. I mean, again, I guess it's allegedly because I don't want to, but if you look at research, like you were saying, Miss Honey, it's right in our faces. This whole corruption and environmental attacks and global warming and all this kind of stuff. It's a lot to take on. So yeah, you should be going out and having a good time with your family and loving that. But right now, this the community of Gary. I'm hoping and praying. Actually, I will say that, and I mean it. That the children and the elderly people feel a little more comfortable, and nobody get hurt and sick out there with the heat and all the issues that they have. And also, I'm not sure if you talked about this, but the reason that me and you discuss this because I feel like in our own community, I'll have to mention no names because we talk about Trump a lot, but we got to check ourselves too. We're not really, talking enough about some of the things that's happening. It's okay to talk about the major things, and we should. But this story, I wish that this week would have been covered on different places. I think I finally saw it on the Breakfast Club this morning.
That's exactly. I just saw it on the Breakfast Club, and I was like, "This is because I put it on YouTube, and then I put it in on national, and no one's talking about it. They're barely talking. No, not real. It's not circulating the way it should be circulating. You know what I'm saying? And when you said that, I said, I find it's very interesting that we could talk about everything else that's going on in this country, but we're not focusing on, because people shouldn't be living in these conditions.
No.
And it's like, oh, well, you have to suffer and you have to wait. And I wonder, is it because Gary, Indiana is predominantly Black people that they're not talking about it? Like I said, Donald Trump sent help to get to Indiana or Gary, Indiana, and that's what I read. That he did send FEMA out.
Okay.
But does FEMA have any money since it was gutted? You know what I'm saying? Who knows? Is this the reason why it's taking so long for them to get the lights back on? Because it's been gutted?
Come on. My grandmother used to say, my grandmother used to say, sending the check from an empty bank account don't do nobody no justice. Let's put it that way. So, if there's nothing in the bank account, those checks don't mean a damn thing.
Right.
Yeah. So who knows? I don't know. I don't know. But like you said, I didn't see it yet, but I believe you. The report said that he sits down with checks. I hope the checks have some value to them. Let's put it that way. But yeah, it's just crazy, absolutely crazy. But yeah, it's crazy. But Gary, Indiana is unfortunately, I would say, do I believe this will be the last time that a predominantly Black community suffer from the conditions of global warming, other stuff? No, I think and will this be the last time that a slow response to trying to help the community get their lights on and the health conditions improving? Unfortunately, I don't think it'll be the last time. It'll happen in the next 2 years. I think that we can kind of see what this administration values, and it doesn't really value the African American community, and I will say that with my full chest.
Well, we know this administration doesn't value the Black American community.
No, they don't.
Or the people of color.
No.
They don't care.
Uh-uh.
We know that. We've been knowing that for a very long time. We talked about it before he was elected. Try to tell people about Project 2025, and who knows? They probably don't give a crap's ass about it because they, yeah. Data centers are coming up everywhere, being put everywhere, and especially in Black communities, rural areas with farmers and stuff like that. Donald Trump and his regime doesn't give two shits about the American people. He really doesn't. Unless you have millions and millions and trillions of dollars, billions of dollars, that's all he cares about. He just cares about money. Poor thing is, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what? And what I was going to say too. I did this on the subject. Sometimes what I feel, and it's unfortunate, but I do feel for people like me and you who live in more developed cities, because the country is a very big place, and so when you live in, I don't know, like someplace out in the outskirts of Detroit or someplace in Nebraska, whatever, I do think about our brothers and sisters out there who didn't vote for Trump. And who are suffering in cities that don't have resources, like these people, the good people, Christian people, whatever kind of people, just brothers and sisters out there. And, I live in New York City, you live in Atlanta. We live in really good cities with a lot of resources. So if something happens, I in my life, Miss Honey, I've never been, and thank you God, I've never been in a position I've never been in a position that I would be without power for more than 2 days, basically, in my lifetime. So I don't know how you can go without for 2 weeks. And I'm not sure with you, but, living in a big city, we have those blessings, And so, but other people who live in Nebraska and I don't know, just other places that are not really got a lot of resources from the government or nonprofits or whatever, you're kind of on your own. That's what we're kind of seeing with this situation in Gary, Indiana. You're kind of on your own if something bad happens to you. And we saw, of course, in Katrina decades ago. But, it's unfortunate. And I don't know, people who've been there for hundreds of years or, over 100 years would say, well, I want to just get up and move to Atlanta. I want to go and move to California, but because they have roots there. So I don't want people to leave. I just wish there was more resources put into different places that, happen to be African American. You ain't hurt nobody. It should be more infrastructure there where if something happens, they don't have to wait 2 weeks to get comforts of just human decency, especially in the summertime. So
yeah, and it's hot.
It's hot.
It's extremely hot, and it's hot everywhere. People are dying in France from the heat.
I know. I saw it.
So I can imagine what the people in Gary are going through right now with this heat wave. On top of this rain, when it rains, the humidity is worse.
Yeah.
So I feel bad for them. I really, truly do. And like I said, if anyone is listening and anyone watch this video, if you live near Gary or Indiana, please send some food. If you have canned foods or any kind of, goods that they can benefit from, if you're close enough, share.
Yeah,
because they won't have food, they won't have electricity for the next 5 days,
right?
According to NIPSCO. So, and who knows if they get it in 5 days? You know what I'm saying? True. Don't know. So, yeah, this is a situation where this is when you come together and help people. You help communities out, and
I also, I agree with you. I also think that what you're doing, I'm going to keep saying, I think what you're doing and what other people are starting to do, I'm starting to see, is that if you don't live next to Gary, Indiana, and like Miss Sunny, you have a platform, okay, Substack, YouTube channel, podcast, whatever. As Black people, when we hear something happening, it doesn't have to be like as horrific as Katrina or something like that. But when we see one of our communities, in struggle or not being treated fairly, and we have a platform, then we could talk about it, and that's a form of unity also, to share your voice, share your platform, and let people know what's going on, especially if it's not being reported widely. It's not really widely being reported. It's starting to pick up, but I think, I think that what you're doing is good too, just to let people know, hey, this is happening. And because, listen, if it can happen again, in Gary, Indiana, it can also happen in Harlem. It could happen in any place that's predominantly Black. So we can't, feel too, comfortable, say, okay, that's that problem, because eventually whatever happens to one can happen to all. So
it can happen to everybody. Look what happened to, remember when, what was that, 2 years ago in South Carolina? Was it North Carolina, South Carolina? They had those huge floods and people's houses were floating down the river.
Yeah.
So it can happen to anybody.
Yeah.
And this is when we as Americans come together and we talk about, if you have, like Mel said, if you have a platform, talk about it. Because some of these stories that are out there, we need to move on from some of these stories and we need to start focusing on what's happening right now. I'm not saying that you have to just stop talking about important things, but also mention what's happening right now in Gary, Indiana. Because when New Orleans happened, people saw people on the roofs of their homes in a flood, and it was devastating. Then people had to go into the dome, and there was so much going on in the dome.
Yes,
people were being assaulted. Women were being assaulted, and it was so bad. And Bush, he didn't handle it correctly. He didn't handle it the way he should have. I don't understand why when we get in situations like this, the party that we're under now is not saying, we haven't heard anything about it. Thank you, Wynn, for subscribing. We haven't heard anything about it. It is not on the news. I haven't seen it on the news. I haven't seen anything. Nothing's come across my screen or across my platform, where I've seen it just pop up, because I'm on TikTok. So I'm on TikTok and oh wow. I'm on TikTok. I'm on, Instagram. I'm on Twitch. So if you're on any of these platforms, start talking about this, because people should not be without electricity for a long period of time.
Yeah.
Insanity. I'm sorry, but this is crazy. Their infrastructure is not good, clearly. So start talking about it, people. And I'm glad that you let me know that this was happening, Mel, so then so that I could spread the word. Someone,
of course, and I'm happy.
Facebook. Hopefully, someone close will see it. Thank you, Snoogle.
Wonderful. Yeah, listen. That's why you've always been cutting edge when it comes to this. There were many things that we talked about. Oh my God, 4 years ago before everything. So yeah, I definitely wanted to share with you. And it doesn't matter if it's one person or 200 people or 2,000 people who see a video or tweet or whatever. Again, we have something. We can just say, hey, what's happening, Gary. And then also next week, and God help us, if something happens again in some other place around the country, maybe this is a week, what we can do going into these elections where, we don't have to be, protesting if we don't want to, but we can just, communicate, talk, tweet, and or whatever you're on, and let people know what's important to you. For me, it was just seeing the older people, because, Sunny, my grandmother passed away recently. So just seeing people like that who are older and a walker, it got to me a little bit. It was like, oh my gosh, it's so hot. And, the lady was like, okay, I'm taking care of my husband. And, he's in his 80s, I'm 80. I got to come out here to get, water. And I was like, oh, geez, my gosh. You wouldn't be 80 years old in the heat if you didn't have to be, so.
Right.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I think about the elderly people too. That should be your concern. Thank you so much for the hearts. I really do appreciate it. This is my first time doing a live on TikTok, so I'm filming on TikTok as well.
Oh, good.
My first time, and thank you for the hearts. The elderly. Yeah. You can't just leave them out there struggling. They should not be without water, lights, food, their medicine.
Their medicine.
Their medicine needs to be refrigerated.
Mm-hmm.
They have no refrigeration because of the electricity is out.
Yeah.
You know, so this is not, and people are already suffering. You know, and it really breaks my heart that people have to suffer. I hate that. You know, I really hate that for people, and I hate that for the elderly for sure. So, yeah, I don't know.
Well, you know what? Listen, we did it. You know, we came up here to let people know, and they can watch this video, and you know, just everybody who watches, share and tweet and talk about it. And you know, like I heard from one of the people in that community, they said that, well, from the mayor, actually, I forget his name, but he was pretty on it. He was like, listen, I'm talking to Washington, I'm talking to I forget the name of the power company there. NIPSCO, right, that one. And you know, and he told the residents, listen, y'all all entitled to $5,000. I heard that part. He said, you know, but I'm not sure when they're going to get it, but they're entitled, if they suffered through these days, to $5,000 if they call their local 211. So along with donations and people talking about it, let's just hope and pray that, you know, until they get resources and power on, that they will be comfortable this weekend.
Yeah, so keep people and Gary in your prayers. Thank you for the hearts. I really do appreciate that. Oh, he said, I was in your chats on YouTube and I'm so excited to see your live on TikTok. Thank you. So yeah, so be sure to share, talk about it. If you're on YouTube, when you get into someone's chat, say, have y'all talked about what's going on in Indiana? They have no electricity and they haven't had electricity for 11 days. And especially go to Don Lemon, okay? I haven't seen him talk about it.
Okay.
Go to Midas Touch. Go to Tabitha Speaks Politics. Let these people know that people in Indiana don't have electricity, okay? And they haven't had it for 11 days, and they're not expected to have it for another 5 days.
Right.
And people are suffering.
They're suffering, yeah. Yeah, they are.
All right.
All right.
Thank you, Mel, for letting me know and coming on. And for everyone who has not subscribed to my channel here on YouTube, please subscribe here on YouTube and on TikTok. I appreciate you all coming in. Thank you, One Sphere. What is it, US? Thank you for all the hearts. I appreciate that. That's my first time. I'm so excited for going live on TikTok again pretty soon. Thank you, Mel, once again. And thank you to everyone out there. You all have a great day and share this live. Go out and tell people what is going on. Don Lemon, what's her name? Joy Reid. She'll get down to the issues. Okay.
All right. Have a good day.
You too. Thank you. Okay. Good night.